Is it working? Okay. Sorry, I'm not hearing this side. Good morning again to everyone. My name is Imani Kumar. I'm Deputy Secretary General looking after the Asia Pacific region and also the Regional Director with the South Asia Office, ICLEI South Asia Office. Welcome to this session on urban resilience, navigating the climate emergency in Asia Pacific region. Thanks to all our ICLEI Asia Pacific offices who have supported this particular. I don't know how many of you know that we have, if I'm not wrong, 4 or 5 secretariats in Asia Pacific region for ICLEI. I sit in Delhi, the South Asia Secretariat. We have Southeast Asia Secretariat. Unfortunately, no colleagues are here, but we also have East Asia Secretariat and Oceania Secretariat, what we call it. Like these are the 4 secretariats. But in addition to that, we have country offices. We have ICLEI Japan director sitting here. We have KCC, the Kaohsiung Capacity Center. The director is here. We have, unfortunately, the ICLEI Korea director is not here, and ICLEI China also we have an office which is there. So we have more than 300 city governments who are part of our Asia Pacific region as part of our members and network partners, and especially. This particular session, we are going to discuss about what is happening on ground in Asia Pacific region. Just my colleagues have given me a little bit of statistics here. If I have to just say that, as per the World Meteorological Organization's report on the state of climate in Asia, the region has faced nearly 81 weather or climate or water-related disasters. Actually, ours is a more vulnerable area when you compare to the entire world, the Asia Pacific region. So that's one message we all know. I'm not saying that most of you don't know this, but this is what is we all have seeing on ground nowadays, what is happening on that. And you also know that we have the largest population in the world, because the 2 countries, most populated countries in the world, both China and India are part of our Asia Pacific region on that. So lot of issues happening, lot of problems we all are facing. We know that each of you, each region, each city government, each subnational government is working towards addressing these climate change issues. At the national level, and we are one of the best region in the world, again, I will put it that way, we have total 12 countries who have submitted their NDCs, and at least 2 or 3 countries who are already have even resubmitted, re-looked into the NDCs, what they have going to do to how to address the climate change issues on that. But unfortunately, this is not sufficient. We have all these commitments. If I say that whatever they have committed till now and what they are seeing it in future is not going to address that 1.5 degrees what we need to be on that. Not even, I can say, maybe the statistics say not even we are going to reach the 3 degrees centigrade what we are talking about that thing. So we need to do much more on that particular front on that. And one last point, and we have our colleague, and thanks to the Asian Development Bank with us here. Climate finance is another major concern for most of the developing countries in the Asia Pacific region. I'm not saying that Africa or Latin America does not need that, but as we are most vulnerable, and finances are also not that much we have. So we. What I'm listening to the national governments, what is happening and what we are preaching for the last so many years is that if we can get more money at subnational and at the city level, we can further improve our work, further improve our actions on ground, so that we can address, if not 1.5 degrees, at least to look into the 3 degrees centigrade, what we are looking on that. So with this opening remarks, I am happy that we have a very well deserved panel here with us. My colleague will moderate that particular session on that. But before we go to the panelists, I'm so happy that Mr. Satoshi Ishii, the director from Strategic and Partnerships Water and Urban Sector Group from the Asian Development Bank, is here. I request him maybe to share what is ADB supporting to the subnational or national and city governments in Asia Pacific region. And if you can tell us any other windows where we can get funding, either a grant fund. I know that you don't give a grant fund, but maybe a technical assistant fund to the city governments or subnational governments. And also how we can maybe, I know that you have a very good public-private funding window you have in that. Maybe some information if you can share on that particular front on that. Without wasting any time, so I will request Ms. Satoshi to come and take over here at this thing. The floor is yours, sir, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kumar. It's working. Yes, thank you very much for the introduction. Hi, my name is Satoshi Ishii. I'm from ADB. Thank you first very much for inviting us for this very important session. We are very, very excited to be here. And then the Asian and Pacific region is our region. ADB has already committed to be a climate bank of the Asian Pacific. So this is really, really relevant session. And then just to give a bit of statistics in addition to what Mr. Kumar has been given, we all know that 55% of the global population live in Asia, that accounting for only 2% of the land surface. And of course, city is producing more than 80% of GDP. However, they are also emitting more than 70% of GHG emission. And material use is also over 70%. Half of them came from Asian Pacific. So it's really the region that is really important. And that's the mitigation side, but for the adaptation side, more than 40% of disaster happening in Asian Pacific region, with the 84% of the people affected. So apparently ADB has been putting more and more effort and more funding to this effort. We have been already pledged 2 years ago to have a climate finance of aggregated $100 billion by 2030. Two-thirds, $66 billion will come from the mitigation side, more or less energy and transport, those sectors. But 34%, a third, is coming from adaptation. That really means that resilience of the city, the water and agriculture, those sectors are really important. And this is really a challenging component because adaptation finance is really complicated as well. Maybe also giving the bit of background that the ADB has been gearing up our efforts so that this year we have also started our reorganization, trying to respond better to the needs of the Asian Pacific country and the cities. And then also we're trying to be faster. We have been always criticized being very slow, taking too much time to bring in the money into the field. So, we are kind of reorganizing from regional based to the more sector based. It's a bit difficult to explain in a very short time, but then of course I can explain further if you're interested. Maybe if you go to the next slide, please. Just to give you a bit of overview of the how ADB's lending portfolio in the urban sector, just to let you know that this urban sector doesn't include the urban metro project, which is kind of always tagged into the transport sector, or the demand side energy, which is also tagged into the energy sector. And then for us, it's a bit incomplete portfolio figures, but then for us to publicly share, we have to use this number anyway, just to bear with us. So we have been the last 10 years, our portfolio, which is a commitment basis, so which is a loan is signed or grant is signed, is around 17.5 billion. So it's basically average 1.7. There are a bit of up and down because of COVID crisis and so on. But this year we have been really, gearing up, maybe because of the post, COVID recovery, and then that there are more financial demand. We have been this year is almost finishing in a few weeks' time, but then we already committed around $2.6 billion US dollar. And then if you go to the next slide, even in the next year, we are already estimating over 3 billion. So this is going to be a bigger jump, for us to providing more finance to the different areas. If you look at the left-hand side, actually water, sanitation, the drainage, and then the flood is accounting for more than 60% of our urban portfolio, meaning that a lot of them are, of course, adaptation, finance. And then, as I said, the metros, all those things are not actually included in this figure. So if you include it all, to understand as an urban, actually our portfolio is much, much bigger, in terms of working with the cities and countries. Maybe I'd like to give a little bit more concrete example. If you go to the next slides, one of the good example is really about this Bangladesh project in a coastal town. We are actually approved last year, and then we are working with a 22 coastal town in a 10 coastal district. And then those districts are really at the low lying, and then the elevation is around 2 meter to around 12 meter. And those coastal towns and districts are very, very vulnerable. And then also the poor as well, as you can imagine. Their poverty rate is very high, around 60%, or some parties are 44% of the poverty ratio. And in this particular intervention, we are providing not only project infrastructure, but more interestingly, we are working with the local community so that we have some program called Resiliency Livelihood Program that to make sure that the household and then the vulnerable groups have some income generating activities. What are the skill set that they can potentially generate the revenues? So with the local government and in the country, we are trying to create those programs to run there. And then also working with the local government, the capacity the building of the local government is an important component, the planning process, and then also NBS, gender inclusive design, and then the program, which is also showcased under this project. So this is really the project to enhance the capacity of anticipate and absorb, and then also accommodate and recover, from the shocks of the climate change as well as the cyclones. We are building the cyclone shelters and so on. So this is really not a, let's say, typical large-scale, ADB intervention, but this is really an important intervention. It's in terms of the country like Bangladesh. And then on this project, I think I've been very happy that to know ICLEI has been also part of our Bangladesh program. We have been working very closely with the Global Center on Adaptation. So our engagement is really a national level. And then this year, we are already signing another loan with the Bangladesh government on improving urban government and infrastructure, governance and infrastructure program, which is even accessing or the providing the finance to the 88 municipalities of the Bangladesh. So it's really kind of multiplying to the 4 times. So this is also one of the project or two program to showing that ADB has been conventionally, being called as an infrastructure bank. We have been working with the very segregated infrastructure, but now under this climate change, and we have been changing our way of working with the city and the country. So we have to engage our stakeholders and country much upstream of the project discussion. We have been very used to do a climate proofing, but then climate proofing doesn't work anymore. We have to really create a climate adaptation project together with the city and the country. So that's really the shifting our approach. Again, that's why we are changing our organization a little bit, the way we work. And this is actually one of the instruments to enhance our climate finance. As I said, we have a big pledge. ADB has to think about how to convey and deliver that objective. And this is a really showcased project. Next one, please. Next one is actually coming from India. And I also wanted to highlight this project. This is actually so-called policy-based lending. I mean, if you are not very familiar with MDB, it's a bit of jargon, but this is actually the lending program, not based on infrastructure, but based on the policy. By exactly, directly working with the national level policy and then also local level policy, we can influence much wider and much bigger, the cities and municipality and states, under our program. So when we have been discussing with Indian government, they have a very good national urban missions or the programs in the past, smart city programs and so on, they actually strengthen or lay the strong foundation, but actually reforming is not happening quick enough. So this is kind of the approach, again, not conventional infrastructure financing, but we are directly working with the government. And interestingly, Indian government is actually taking this money. We are actually providing $750 million for last year and this year. This is actually performance-based fiscal transfer program. So, as there's a bit of competition elements going on so that if the state or local government who is doing good in terms of universal access to the water and sanitation, also providing affordable housing and rental housing, those municipalities will receiving more fiscal transfer using those facility and program. The next one, please. Next one comes from the People's Republic of China. This is maybe the last example from me. This is actually a standard, the work, standard infrastructure project. But then the point is that we have been working with this Changi municipality, which is actually a population of around 3 million, 3.15 million. And then with the urban population of, around 1 million, the transforming really the city. So this is a city has been, have a lot of old coal industry and then very high carbon intensive industries, and they are struggling to transform their industrial base from those traditional one to the new one. So this is also something ADB is working with them, how to trying to transition and try to support the small and medium-sized industry to go for more cleaner industry, and also providing some of the vocational trainings as well, and then trying to move and then support the provincial government as well as the municipal government to shifting towards more greener economy. The last slide, please. So ADB has been, of course, doing a lot of those projects, and then but we understand that our money always should be blended with a cheaper money or grant money. Of course, the bigger source, we have been working closely with the GEF or GCF. However, ADB also have a lot of trust funds. So we actually, under urban and water sector, we have been managing, or I have been managing 9 different trust funds, which has been contributed by the Netherlands government, Spanish government, FCDO, UK. Those are the government which is working very closely with us. Sorry, on the Gates Foundation as well, to enhance our project design. So this is really a leveraging effect. The last 2 bits is really about working with the city. We start understanding that we have to clouding in the private finance into this. I mean, this is the challenge is massive, to take by ADB or World Bank or those MDBs. We must work with the private sector. Our approach is really that, of course, supporting the government to create an enabling environment, for the private sector to come in. We are really looking at this investable part of the city, how to make sure city will be more investable, what are the needed to enhance their credit worthiness. And then this is also leading to the building more confidence from the private sector and the market, so that if you think about even PPP project, those credit worthiness or investable aspect of the city is very important. So this is also our program, which is starting that how to make sure city will become more investable. It doesn't mean only the financial part. It can be governance, can be anti-corruption. A lot of different element is playing a role here, but we are very, very happy to support this. And then as I can see some of the Malaysian colleagues here, we have been working in the past. We have been working also closely with Malaysia, with ICLEI on a Green City Action Plan. So I think we, ADB, we really want to further, enhance our collaboration. What I wanted to say in this talk is that, I do feel that we haven't done this collaboration enough, especially in working with the ICLEI or C40 or, the GCOM, so we really would like to escalate our collaboration and working with you. I stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Satoshi, for giving the information what ADB is supporting. And I hope you have seen that last slide is more important for us. So all the cities, whoever are here, can look into that slide and approach Mr. Satoshi on that. So without wasting any time, I request my colleague from ICLEI Japan office, Mr. Togo Uchida, the director of the ICLEI Japan, to take over and start the panel discussion. Togo, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. We will have a slightly different program for this panel discussion, as Mayor Barrow has a different appointment that he has to attend straight after this session. So we will ask Mayor Barrow to speak first, and then we will introduce the video message from Kyoto, and then we will invite other speakers to come on the stage afterwards. So without any further ado, Mayor, please.
Thank you, moderator, and good morning, everybody. My name is Paraniko Barrow, the mayor of Tinainanu Urban Council in Tarawa, in one of the smallest, most vulnerable coral atolls in the Pacific. Since I have a meeting at 12, I have a prepared statement, but I am not going to read it. Otherwise, it'll be 12 o'clock already. So nice to be here, and thank you to ICLEI for having me here among colleagues. Thank you. We all experience the effect of climate change. No one can argue about that. Kiribati, the most vulnerable because we are coral atolls in the Pacific with only 3 meters. The highest is only 3 meters. We are already experiencing the coastal erosion is one of our major problems. Seawater intrusion into our waterlands is another major problem. And the water pattern that we were used to, we can tell when it's going to be the wet season and when it's going to be the dry season is no longer there. The weather now is unpredictable. You cannot tell when the rain or when the dry season is coming. So with all this, we confirm that climate change is a serious problem to us, and we should all act together. Not only the national government, but the subnational government, the local government, and everybody in the communities. How can we do that? As already mentioned, through finance, then we can address all these problems. We are trying to do mangrove planting to assist with our coastal erosion and what have you. But the money is not there. And we've been hearing throughout this COP28 that there's a lot of plenty of money. Okay? We don't feel the money coming to us. Nothing at all. If there is, why? Because the procedure in climate financing is so made difficult. Okay? It's very hard to access. And the list, and we are happy that organizations like the UN, ICLEI are trying to connect us with more funding donors. I only wish that we have more organizations like this back home so that they can get the money directly to the local government rather than through national government. That's the only, I think that's probably the only way to solve the ambitions that local governments have to improve their environment. I'm sorry, but I have to rush to another meeting. I thank you all for having me here.
So before our mayor leaves, can we ask the panelists to stand in the front so that we could take a group photo to capture the moment? Thank you very much. Followed by this Mayor's speech, we would like to introduce the video message that we received from Kyoto. The Director of Energy Policy Department of Kyoto City, Ms. Aya Nagata, coming from a different perspective of, we are talking about local governments having access to international finance. But the case of Kyoto is a little bit different. They are issuing their own bond to get and solve the issue of financial issues. So please start the video.
Hello everyone, my name is Aya Nagata, the Senior Director of Kyoto City's Global Environmental Policy Office. Thank you for having me on this panel today. So I would like to introduce our city's Green Bond Initiative. First, let me briefly review our efforts so far to achieve a decarbonized society. In 1997, Kyoto City hosted COP3, and with a sense of pride and responsibility as birthplace of Kyoto Protocol, we have since collaborated with citizens and businesses to lead the nation in these efforts. In 2004, Kyoto City enacted the first ordinance in Japan, specifically focused on global warming countermeasures. And in 2019, during the session of the IPCC held in Kyoto, we announced the city's commitment to work towards achieving net zero by 2050, ahead of other municipalities in Japan. In 2021, Kyoto City formulated the action plan for the crucial decade, Kyoto City Plan of Global Warming Countermeasures, and we are currently aiming for carbon neutrality by 2050. This plan includes the goal of reducing GHG emissions by 46% by 2030 through accelerating energy efficiency improvements and expanding renewable energy. To meet this target, we have set sectoral reduction targets to promote transformations in these areas of lifestyle, businesses, energy, and mobility. For instance, in the energy sector, Kyoto City established the obligation to install renewable energy equipment in building over 300 square meters. Additionally, we provide subsidies for those who install more than the required amount, as well as support programs for the installation of residential solar equipment and storage batteries. Next, let me give you an overview of Kyoto City's first green bond. Kyoto City is promoting green finance, including the expanded use of ESG investment as a mechanism to establish a positive cycle between the environment and the economy outlined in our climate action plan. As an environmentally advanced city, Kyoto has set the transition to achieve net zero by 2050 as a growth strategy and is currently working on a project to attract domestic and global ESG investments and to support new businesses and contribute to the SDGs as growth industries. One of its policies is foster momentum for local companies to raise funds through ESG investments. And as one of its initiatives, we are taking the lead in issuing green bond. In December last year, Kyoto City's first green bond was issued in coordination with the Finance and Budget Office and other relevant departments of Kyoto City. While the issue size was 5 billion yen, there was 8 times as much demand, amounting to approximately 40 billion yen. The issues were highly evaluated by investors, with 59 organizations actually investing the bonds, and 54 of those organizations making investment commitments. As a result, the issue was financed at a lower interest rate than similar municipal bonds issued in the same period. So-called green yen occurred in Kyoto City Green Bond, although it's still rare in the Japanese bond markets. The use of proceeds is determined based on Kyoto City Green Bond comprehensive framework. For example, such as energy efficiency, retrofits, and environmentally advanced upgrade to city-owned facilities, as well as for climate change countermeasures, such as river maintenance. In recognition of these efforts, Kyoto City became the first Japanese municipality to win the Bond Award 2023 in the municipal category from Environmental Finance. The award's judges praised Kyoto City Bond's unique focus on biodiversity, as well as efforts to improve energy efficiency and rivers, which are crucial areas for municipalities to address. This fiscal year, we plan to issue nearly 11 billion yen in green bonds, utilizing a joint issuance scheme involving multiple local governments. And individual bonds will also be issued in the upcoming fiscal year. By expanding green finance, we aim to encourage local companies' transition to decarbonized management and create new businesses and innovation opportunities, and accelerate the movement toward the realization of a decarbonized society from Kyoto. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So this was an example of local governments taking their own initiatives to get direct access to finance. Now, this seems quite a challenge for many of the local governments, even in Japan. So adding to what Aya-san mentioned, there is a scheme or activity happening in Japan at the moment where a number of local governments coming together to issue a bond together with the help from the financial institutions. So even with the local governments who have less capacity, will have an access to this green bond. So this is another development that we have been focusing as ICLEI Japan. So thank you for waiting. So I would like to ask our panelists to come on stage. So Director Mohammed and Director Chang and Council Member Chen, can you please come on the stage, please? And I will also sit down to moderate. Okay, so thank you very much for coming on stage. So we prepared 2 questions for the panelists, but you can answer in one go, I think, because we have a limitation of time. So the question that we asked before the session was, first, what are the challenges and opportunities faced within the context of the climate emergency in your local community? And the second question was, please share any specific strategies, policies, and programs that have worked in your region to promote climate resilience. So maybe I would like to start from Director Mohammed can you please respond to the questions, please?
Thank you. This one more? No. Sorry, yes. Thank you so much for the very interesting question, and thank you, ICLEI, for the invitation. I'm Mahadi from Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand Growth Triangle Joint Business Council. I am TGT, and we're very happy to be present today and sharing a little bit about our experience that we've done in the South Asian region, specifically in Malaysia. But before that, I would also like to draw the attention to what Mr. Irmani Kumar was saying just now in the opening remark, where I think the South Asian country is at a very interesting juncture at the moment, because comprising of developing countries, we are in the I would say dilemma of striking the right balance between developing the respective countries, but also having the foresight or the planning of urban resilience and also climate infrastructure investment ready. Drawing back into the experience of few countries where I think Malaysia is one of the leading countries with respect to climate infrastructure investment, and also I think I will also touch on the Green City Action Plan, which is being jointly developed by ICLEI South Asia, ICLEI South Asia, and also Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand Growth Triangle. And that's also, I think, one of the most exciting aspects that we would like to also draw the attention of the audience. I think coming to the question that was being asked by the moderator just now, zooming into Malaysia, the Green City Action Plan is a very important document for the country. And I think this is part of the 12th National Malaysia Plan that's also been highlighted in the parliament and also being highlighted by the Prime Minister and also the Minister of Natural Resources, Energy and Climate Change in his one of his speeches in COP28 recently in the last few days. And I think that's also a testament of how Malaysia is being progressive in this regards, but also having in the back of our mind that we need financing. And that's one of the important elements. And I think touching on what Mr. Satoshi was saying just now, I'm not jumping the gun, but we would like to register our interest in any available financing model or financing structure that could be used by us in Malaysia in particular. One of the things, the success story that we would like to highlight is also on the climate adaptation projects. I think through the first GCAP Malacca and also the second GCAP in Kota Kinabalu, we have learned so much. The GCAP, the Green City Action Plan, provided not just data, but also provided with us the proper planning, the proper implementation that needs to be done, and also the much needed data for the NDC and also for the government to actually have the overall or broad planning of the country. And that's where I think the Malaysian government, together with the Asian Development Bank, have also identified another 14 cities that we would have a very impactful studies. And also the study will be coupled together with the projects that will be complementing the studies in the 14 in various cities in Malaysia. And I also would like to highlight that there will be an investment forum for all the projects that have been identified under the 14 Green City Action Plan that is currently being developed. And hopefully in the next year that will be able to host that forum. And we would like to invite interested organization, companies, participants to be part of this, where I think this is also another signature or showcase of a Green City Action Plan and also the climate-ready investment that could be also a highlight, not just as a case study in Malaysia, but also a success story throughout the region. And I believe everyone in this room and online will be agreeable when we say that climate change or climate emergency is real, and that's one of the driving force that we have in Malaysia at the moment. And I also like the tagline of COP28 this year. I think it's Unite, Act and Deliver. So I think that's also the spirit or the DNA of what we in Malaysia together with ICLEI and Asian Development Bank is doing. So I think with that, I will say thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Mohammed. So Malaysia, of course, is a very important country in terms of geopolitical aspect, as well as your leading role in promoting and also organizing a number of really interesting and well-known international conferences and forums. So we should definitely think about getting further engaged in the coming years. I understand that when I was in the Malaysian pavilion, you had such a large presence to this COP. I think the delegation expanded from the last COP to this COP has doubled or more, actually, even. So it's very good to see that the general public in Malaysia is also realizing and standing up for this climate cause. So thank you very much for your intervention. Thank you very much. So now I would like to move on to Director Chang from Kaohsiung City. So of course, Kaohsiung City is also a very important member of ICLEI. So please, Director Chang, can you share your question? Your experience on climate actions. Thank you.
Thank you. Kaohsiung City is an industrial city, and we have decreased 30% of carbon emission compared to 2005. Our goal is achieve 30% reduction emission by 2030 and reach net zero by 50. And the net zero strategy of Kaohsiung City have divided into several key aspects, such as science-based target and establishing regulation and energy transition strategy. In the energy aspect, our primary strategy is reduce fossil fuel and expand the renewable energy source like hydrogen and bioenergy. In the industry aspect, we have implemented AI-driven solution to assist reducing emission. In industry process, we use AI module to reduce steel making temperature and decrease fuel consumption. For circular economy, Kaohsiung City is actively promoting the use of solid recovery fuel and reutilizing bottom ash as consumption. To adapt to climate change, an integrated platform is established to provide information on climate, air quality, water resource, agriculture, and carbon emission. This platform provides the government and the system with real-time data for immediate response to prevent natural disasters such as flood and typhoon. The city on the front line on climate change. Kaohsiung City will continue to work with local industry and residents through technology and green finance to reach net zero with the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Director Chang. Kaohsiung is an industrialized, city, and I think this is another key feature or character of the cities in this region. So these cities in this region where they have a huge industrialized background, finding it very difficult to decarbonize. But on the other hand, we are very encouraged to see how you are also communicating with the local industry to really make that transformation happen. And Kaohsiung's case is really a leading case that I think we could all learn from. So thank you very much, Director Chan. So I would like to move on to Council Member Mei-Shen Chen. Yes, from Macau Low Carbon Development Association. So Council Member Chan, please.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Chen Mei-Zheng. I'm from the Macau Low Carbon Development Association. The association was founded in 2022. We're a very young and vibrant organization. When we were founded, we received very generous endorsement and support from the Macau government and the Macau Legislative Council. For those who are familiar with the city, these are the two major government bodies. So to receive their endorsement and support at the founding moment means that we have the place to act as the pioneer for Macau's green development. And currently, we're very proud to say that we are the most influential nonprofit organization in Macau for green development. In Macau, we actually are setting the very ambitious goal of becoming a pioneering carbon neutral city. We say this because we believe very strongly in Macau's socio-economic distinctive features and their policy foundation. Macau has a very approachable demographic and geographic scope to become a carbon neutral city. Most importantly, it is a free port connecting the Asia Pacific to the mainland China, Hong Kong, and the Bay Area. So we believe that this strategic location is actually very important to form multilateral partnerships for us. And we also connect very closely with Portuguese-speaking Belt and Road membership countries. And the Macau government is actually very actively supporting the goal. They've been advocating for green development, innovation-driven green development since many years ago. And back to the questions that were being asked, Macau, like any city, face the same challenges when it comes to carbon mitigation. That's why we are putting in places a very comprehensive action plan that actually listed 10 strategies to transform Macau into a carbon neutral city. These 10 strategies would include, For example, to implement a low emission transportation system in the city, to provide incentives for citizens to engage in carbon reduction actions. And we also would like to see a lot of changes in the structure of energy system. And to achieve this goal, we have formed many alliances. Like I said, we have a strategic advantage as a free port connecting Asia Pacific and China. So we have been very active and committed to form a regional synergy for green development. We have formed alliances with research institutions, universities in Hong Kong, China, Portuguese-speaking countries. We also actively empower research and technological bodies for innovations. And we also work very closely with the key industries of tourism and exhibition to provide services to curb their carbon emission. So we are very proud, like I said in the beginning, that we are very influential in Macau. So our achievements actually has demonstrated this role. In 2023, we have received an award from the Association of Tourism Industry to be that award was given to our exhibition carbon emission calculator as an exemplar of environmental excellence. And we also launched the green and carbon neutral label certification for exhibitions. So a very solid step to empower Macau's key industries. In the future, we would like to announce a new plan, a new initiative that's called Lead to Zero Macau Carbon Neutral Tourism and Exhibition Initiative. This initiative, on one end, will effectively register carbon emissions of global tourism, international exhibition events, and also cross-border trade and transportation. On the other end, we would like to see more active participation and collective action from citizens, urban transformations, and regional alliances, so that this initiative could generate widely accepted carbon credits for offset. So in the near future, we'd like to welcome all of you to our Carbon Neutral Macau. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Council Member Chen. Just to give a kind of geological perspective on this, as you may know, Macau situates very close to Hong Kong and Shenzhen, and is one of the most populated and most industrialized area and most innovative area, I think, in the world. And all these new initiatives is happening in this part of the world. And it's so encouraging to see Macau taking a lead in this particular part of the world, really taking a lead on decarbonizing the urban sphere. If I may ask questions, within this geological situation, do you have any kind of local government to local government coordination or relation between the neighboring local governments? If so, can you give us a bit of a picture on how you coordinate?
Yes, actually, the Chinese government has supported a program, a regional program that connects Hong Kong, Macau, and the Guangdong province, where Shenzhen city is seated, to form a triangle area. We call it in Chinese 大湾区, 粤港澳大湾区, essentially translates into the Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau Greater Bay Area. So we rely very heavily on this alliance to achieve what we say to become a carbon neutral city. And this actually, I believe, is our backbone to grow into this goal.
Thank you very much. So it was very interesting. Thank you so much for our panelists for your inputs. I think I will pass on to our Keshab, yes, for the next session, next part of the session. So thank you very much. Can you please give a big applause for everyone? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Togo, for moderating this very excellent panel, and all the speakers for sharing their insights. So what I will do quickly now, as we are discussing about this climate emergency and the actions that are taking place at the local level, I will quickly present you one flagship project that we have done in Indian cities, and that is looking after the needs and vulnerability of young children and the pregnant women. And this has been done basically across the last 2 years of our assessment. Next slide. So this is about two particular study. First one, look at the public spaces, the public space vulnerability in Indian cities context. And second is about the climate lens, how particularly young children and caregivers are vulnerable due to the climate change and air pollution. So we looked at these two studies in different parts of cities, and this is the methodology approach. We looked at not just the primary data, basically we went on the field to collect the actual primary data of air quality exposure to the young children through help of these sensors that you see at the bottom of the image. We collected past 3 months of data for actual exposure to the particulate matter, the NOx and SOx, and also carbon monoxide. So all those 4 parameters, we went on the field for 4 Indian cities and collected these data and looked at how basically young children, especially at the height of 3 feet, and also caregiver, which is average height of 5 feet. So we looked at the exposure of air pollution between both of these heights and looked at the vulnerability, how they're exposed, how they're vulnerable to that impacts of air pollution and climate change both. And we have also taken the measurement of wet bulb temperature, which is exclusively main culprit for lung pollution, lung related illnesses. Go next slide. And this is the key findings for our study. If you look at there are 2 main public spaces which are mainly used by the young children and the caregivers. First one is neighborhood street and parks, where majority of people spend their time. And although they are available in cities, but the quality and the accessibility is a key concern in most of the Indian cities. That's what we found. And that also reflect in these statistics and these key findings. If you look at the first one, the only 39% of respondents visit public spaces on daily basis. And if you look at only 29% of pregnant women utilize the public space daily, which is also not good numbers. So then also we have seen 44% of caregivers and their children sent to their crèche every day. And 29%, while 29% send only in few days in a week. 82% caregivers with their child visit malls once a week, common across all the age groups. So these are some of the facts and findings that we have found through our surveys across Indian cities, and it shows the vulnerability and the accessibility issue of the public spaces in Indian city in general. Next slide. This we have also looked at the basically in terms of the usage time spent by young children outdoor spaces in a week by working status of mothers. So if you look at the working mother, the 37% of mothers spend 1 to 2 hours with young children in public spaces, which is again not good numbers. And also if you look at in case of father, only 29% of fathers spend 1 to 2 hours with young children in the public spaces. So there's a both issue of good quality and accessibility of public spaces. The maintenance is they don't find it secure to go with their young children. So we need to basically improve the quality and accessibility issue for both public spaces. Go next. We have also looked at basically these numbers in terms of time spent. So if you look at the mostly in the eastern part of India, we found the maximum time spent by caregivers with young children in public spaces compared to the western and southern region of India. This is also because of the more socio-economic development and also the more advanced cities in eastern part, this region. Majority responded from all population category of cities are spending at least 1 to 2 hours outdoors in a week with young children. On an average, we have seen caregivers of infant toddlers spend 8 hours in a week using public spaces, which is also shows that there is a huge scope for policy intervention and then infrastructure provision improvement in all of these Indian cities. Go next. So this is on the climate vulnerability angle. We have done the basically baseline assessment, comprehensive policy, the planning assessment, and we have found these are some of the vulnerability and issues related to climate lens for young children planning. And we found that the issues related to basically vulnerabilities are not considered in the, of the young children, not considered in the climate action planning at city level. Although they mention about the young children and caregivers, but there is no any dedicated intervention targeting at the young children 0 to 5 years of age for in the climate action plans of cities and or the state governments. So there are also issues around accessibility to early childhood care development areas. The many most young children in cities have to be face environmental hazard related to air pollution, poor sanitation, poor polluted water, and all these host range of issues. So without spending much time, I will just quickly go to the next slide. Yeah, so these are another some of the findings that we have done the household survey in the Delhi city, where we found that 95% of the respondents felt that there is a impact of local weather pattern have changed over the years, and it direct has impact on their lives, on their ECD sites also. We have also find that 88% of respondents believe that the heat waves have intensified in the recent years. Both the intensity and the frequency of climate hazard event has increased significantly over the years. So these are some of the main climate risks that we found: the warmer summers, the shorter winters, the increase in atmospheric pollution, uncertainty, untimely rainfall. These are the main climate risks that we have found through our interaction with the local stakeholders. Next slide. And if you look at this graph, what we have shown, as we were in the monsoon season, due to high moisture content in the atmosphere, the air quality level was good. But as we are moving toward the post-monsoon season, the air quality deteriorated, especially in Indian cities. And that has a direct implication on the lives and well-being of the young children and caregivers. So these studies have been done, and we have our studies findings are there to be disseminated with all the key stakeholders. Next slide. So what we have done after carefully looking at all these primary data and secondary data, we looked at, we have these three buckets. First is long list of intervention, specific targeted intervention to improve the the climate lens for young children and caregivers action planning space in climate domain. And then also we have prioritized some of the intervention to the modular solutions, basically, which are the, where there is a more interest from the government side to invest resources. So we have prioritized those projects to be called as a modular solution. And then there is a master checklist. Basically, checklist is for the policy planner, for the stakeholder, for the urban practitioner to improve the lens of young children and caregiver lens in climate action and also public space improvement and planning in Indian cities. So these three exercises have been done, and it is there ready for the dissemination. We have been speaking to a lot of stakeholders, especially from the federal government and also provincial authority, to disseminate and share these outcomes with them so they can use it in their policy planning, in their resource allocation strategies. Next slide. So these are some of the intervention that you can see, which we have found not just have a state level guidelines on improving public spaces, but also improving the public spaces with the particular lens of young children. So that is the guidelines is there, the need to map and identification and redesigning of safe public spaces. That is one of the key criteria. And also improvement of footpath, public transportation, last mile connectivity, non-motorized transportation. All these interventions have been come up through our detailed interaction with wide range of stakeholders from the government, from the local community, and also from the civil society and the local NGOs. So all these interventions have been discussed, and these are all detailed out in the report, which will be also shared very soon with all the stakeholders. Next slide. So that was basically focusing on the public spaces. This is one on the climate change specific. We can see the first one talking about the increase in green spaces, especially in urban areas of India. Then also in enhancing the accessibility of and availability of non-motorized transportation in especially around ECD sites, early childhood care development sites, and then climate proofing of essential ECD services. Essential ECD services are basically, like creche, like public parks, like where majority of time young children spend. So we need to make sure they are climate proofing and they feel safe to go there along with their pregnant women and young children and the caregivers. And we're also talking about circular waste management strategy at the ECD sites, and also climate smart education for the preschool, and then also high quality program for antenatal and delivery support for frontline workers. So these are the 6 modular projects that have been identified. It has also been discussed with the several government departments, and we have detailed out these interventions on how these can be implemented on ground with support from action planning space. Next slide. This is the master checklist that I was talking about. It is available for the policy planners to integrate the climate lens and public space lens while they're doing climate local development planning. So this 3x3 planning tool is available for local urban policy, and we'll be very happy to discuss and share it with all the stakeholders and city government officials to use it in their day-to-day planning of to improve the climate lens of all these things. Yeah, next slide. That's it. Thank you very much, and I hope it was useful. Thank you.
Thank you, Kesav, for sharing the study, what has been done in Indian cities, and also along with the Indian government. Now I'm so happy that we have our ICLEI Secretary General, Mr. Gino Van Beggen, is here. So I request him to come and give the closing remarks. Gino, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and it's an honor for me to speak here today in this particular session. First of all, I would like to thank all of the panelists who have contributed to this session. Ladies and gentlemen, for us at ICLEI, the Asia-Pacific region is a very important region, not only because of the fact that from the global urbanized world, which is now more than 50% of the entire global population, the biggest part of that urban population is, of course, in the Asia-Pacific, with China, India, Japan, Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, coming together as an enormous amount of urbanized cities, therefore also with the problems that come with this rapid urbanization and growth, as well as with the opportunities to work together and try to come to a path of development that is sustainable in these areas. At ICLEI, we have a target of every 3 years to be able to fundraise together with all our offices throughout the world, to fundraise $100 million for every 3 years that we then can spend on projects with cities and members of ICLEI in those regions. I'm very happy to say that not only are we achieving that target, but also a large proportion of those projects take place in the region of Asia Pacific. And these projects, they go as the ones that we have just heard here from my colleagues from our South Asia office, and in particular in India, but also from the other panelists in terms of the projects that are ongoing. Most of them focus on achieving a development which is based on low emissions, or actually, we should say from now onwards, to achieve climate neutrality in our urban areas. As one. Secondly, the development is resilient and the development is nature-based and using nature services for advancing our objectives, as well as a circular development, obviously equity and environmental climate justice, social justice coming in. I'm very pleased to know, when traveling and working with my colleagues in the offices in the Asia Pacific, and we have an office in Beijing, we have an office in Kaohsiung, we have an office in Tokyo, we have an office in Seoul, and in Gyeonggi Province in Korea. We have offices in Indonesia as well as in Australia. And we are looking towards expanding those offices as well. I'm very pleased to work with our colleagues on those various topics, because we see that there's a keen interest from local governments and local leaders in that area to collaborate with each other, to find also from an international perspective ways forward to advance on the sustainability agenda. Finally, just to say here, we are here at the COP, you are here at the COP as well. I'm very, very pleased that we can offer you this space for interaction with one another here at the pavilion. But most importantly, we are, of course, here also as you and with your leadership to influence the negotiations here at the COP28. It's on full spring. It's the parties are discussing and negotiating now the text for the final outcomes. As it is usual, it doesn't look good at this start, so there's a lot of work still to be done. But one thing that I would just like to mention is that For us, from this particular COP, what we already are very encouraged by is that the parties have been accepting and endorsing a new pledge that we have put forward together with the COP presidency and with Michael Bloomberg as the UN Special Envoy, a new pledge for parties to work from the 14th of December onwards until the COP 30 in 2025 in Brazil, that parties work with their subnational governments in a structural way forward to identify projects and programs on the ground domestically in their countries, which then can be put forward as part of the domestic national NDCs, not only to enhance, therefore, the contributions from the parties to the implementation of the Paris Agreement, but also through and by subnational governments doing that. This is a very, very good step forward because it will allow one of the things that you have also discussed here and brought forward, the disconnect that sometimes happens, or actually often happens, and still is quite visible at country level between central government and local regional governments. We hope that through this new process of reviewing and designing NDCs in the future and now in the next 2 years to come, that new process through this pledge, by the way, called CHAMP, Coalition of High Ambition for Multi-Level Partnerships, is a mechanism that will help to steer further this multi-level collaboration. By now, 66 countries have endorsed this pledge to move forward. So independently now from what the overall text will be, that is the outcome here. As you know, there's a lot of this of talk about fossil fuel phasing out. It means also that other issues may come down in those discussions. That is to be expected. But we are already very encouraged by the fact that by now already, almost half of the countries here present have endorsed this new mechanism to work together. And finally, the Loss and Damage Fund, also in its operating modalities, is allowing for direct access for subnational government, which is another major step forward. With that, I would just like to thank you all very, very much for being with us here at this COP, working with us together in interacting with the parties, and obviously for your contributions to these discussions here that we are having in this multi-level action pavilion over the next or over the two weeks and in the next days. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for your contribution, and we will close this session. Thank you. Thanks a lot.